everybody. Welcome to our Azure VM Compute Hands-on Lab experience. It's kind of a mouthful. This is going to cover some of the key features in the Azure Portal, and also provide a couple of step-by-step processes, essentially to help you, create, secure, and deploy virtual machines, right? There's a lot or a little documentation out there. And sometimes it feels like you're just spending 5 hours reading a document where you end up more confused than you started with the initial question. So we're going to try to filter through a few of those things and give you some little nuggets of goodness to help you in your life. We really want to also provide you with some opportunities and insight on how to scale your environment, reduce cost. And really, one of the things that's especially important for us being a partner is securing your business, securing your cloud, because it's great to get it up there, but you also want to make sure you're taking extra precautions and steps, especially in today's day and age of COVID, to make sure that what you're doing is protected. And so we really just want to take some time to help educate you, and as well as all of our customer base, just on how to do these things, give you a little bit of insight, a little, hop, skip, and a jump into those items, if you will, and just understand a little bit more about Microsoft's technology, because as Microsoft is great, they're a phenomenal business, but sometimes they aren't the best at providing education and insight. It kind of sometimes can feel like work. So there's partners out there like us, and like, Sherman and his team for bringing us to this webinar and giving us the opportunity to help present to you that, really should help that. So I'm going to take just a second to tell you a little bit about Ryan Tech. Aside from just, about Ryan Tech, a little bit about different partner types and what they may or may not be able to do for you, just being the partner type that they are. We specifically are a tier 1 cloud solution provider, or a CSP for short. So, as much as, from super high level, when Microsoft created the cloud, they kind of had like oh crap moment and went, we don't know if we're really prepared for this. We know that the products are good. We know that there's going to be huge success in this, but are we prepared to have this much customer communication and support and accounting? And people are, feeling the pains of change, adjusting to what they've known to something new. So what they did to resolve this is they created a new partner type and also a new type of licensing that are specific to Microsoft's cloud, from Microsoft 365 to Windows 365 to Azure, and creating virtual machines and, elevating security. And that's what we are. We're a tier 1 CSP. And that just means we're not working through any distributors. We're working directly with Microsoft, and also utilizing some of the items that are only available to tier 1 CSPs, like very premier support, for example. We don't work with kind of low-level techs. We're working with the people who actually built the programs. And so we're working very closely, very high up within Microsoft to get those things done. When the cloud came out, we were like, this is awesome and scary. We're not going to dip our toes in. We're going to do a cannonball. So we literally just dove into Microsoft's cloud, got rid of our other systems and many applications that we were using, and just went into Microsoft Cloud. So with that, we figured out that there are some pain points, pains of change that come with that. I'm sure everybody here may or may not know what that's like. And we really kind of figured out that let's build our business around helping people resolve or completely avoid those pain points. I mean, even when it comes to the topic that we're talking about today, creating Azure virtual machines, when that documentation was first out, we didn't find it entirely accurate. We figured out how to do that. We worked with the Microsoft engineers, and we were able to translate that into plain old English, and help our customers and the people that have access to us figure that out. And Sherman, you can just click through. There's a couple more things here. So
There you
there's
go.
about
Okay.
pain points. You're good. You're good. We function, being the type of provider. Remember how I was talking about cloud solution providers or CSPs. Microsoft literally wants them to handle everything cloud on behalf of them. So we, or any CSP rather, would also handle billing and support and provide that in a consolidated fashion. Essentially, the idea is when you work with a CSP partner, you shouldn't have to go elsewhere. You shouldn't have to seek out a company to help you with Azure and seek out another company to help you with build your SharePoint environment, and seek out another company to do XYZ. A true CSP should be able to handle everything on behalf of Microsoft. That's something that we've been able to do. Everything, from free consultation to helping, come up with a plan. There's 1,001 ways to do things in Azure. But especially when it comes to hybrid setups and analyzing what's going to be the most cost beneficial and not just what might be best for you right now, but also long term, helping come together, utilizing our team as an extension of you to, just throw the equation at us and helping us, to be able to present what our suggestions would be, all the way down to, hey, Microsoft said this would work. I followed the steps and it's broken. So can you help me out with this? We've really designed our business as a CSP to be able to help you work without stop. And just, we want to get rid of all the pain points, right? And so, a lot of people will do what's popular. They'll kind of go by the book of what Microsoft says. We've been challenged by Microsoft, and we've challenged Microsoft many times. And we always do what is right. Sometimes not what is the most popular. I heard this company was doing this. Well, you're not that company. And, according to what we know about you, what you've shared with us, we would actually recommend this. It's not the most popular option, but this is the best option for you. And so we're able to kind of help comb through those items and, lend an ear and help with free, consultations to really provide you what's going to be best for your business and not just what everybody's doing. Nobody lives in a box these days. Nobody should. As you can tell, I'm kind of a quacky person. My life motto is there's always a loophole. And that's one of the reasons that I love this company. I'm going to die with this company, is because they have very much that same sentiment. And you can go to the next slide, Sharon, please. Really quickly, I won't take much time on this one. It's pretty simple. Our main business pillars, if you will, are get you migrated into the cloud, whether that's step by step. Maybe you're just looking at starting email and, or maybe you have a full stack of in-house servers that you're just maybe testing. Maybe we could move this one app into the cloud and baby step in. Whatever your approach is, all or nothing, help get you migrated to the cloud in a way, especially that's not expensive. We personally do free migrations into Azure. So you shouldn't have to worry about how much it's going to cost you, even how much it's going to cost you to talk with a company to figure out if it's a sensible solution. We want to have those conversations for free. And if it's right for you, we want to help you get into Azure. Once you're there, what do we do now? The pains have changed. There's this Azure portal and there's all these sections in the Azure portal. And oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. We totally are designed to help you adopt, whether that means asking a question and having us do it for you, or our preferred method, the teach a man to fish method of, you want to know how to do this? Well, here, let me take some time, share my screen and show you what this means, what it looks like. I like to joke and say like what it sounds like, what it tastes like, what it smells like. We want to have you be as intimately familiar with that environment if you're willing to learn as we are, because no company should just want to hold all the keys to your kingdom. They should want to give those keys to you and explain what each key does and doesn't do. And then protect the cloud. Microsoft is one of the most secure and awesome clouds there is to date. But, it is also a huge company, and being so well known, it can become a target. So what other aspects can we do? What precautions can we take and teach you about to make sure that instead of just hopping into the cloud and, saying, leaving it as is, what extra precautions can we take, right? Aside from educating you on what everything is and what the Azure portal looks like, how can we further secure you, even down to, decreasing the amount of phishing and spam emails you get, right? So I know that's not the Azure topic of the day, but most people who look at Azure probably have Office 365. And if you don't, that's great. You don't need it, right? So you can go on to the next slide, Sherman. We are, so being a CSP, there's a couple of nuggets that Microsoft gives us that other partner types don't get. The good and the bad thing about CSPs is Microsoft is like, charge your own price. You get this type of margin on this product, do this. We'll give you some things for free that you can still charge your customers for. We're not really in that frame of mind. Some CSPs will, you'll see price differentiations when you look at certain CSPs. However, we approach things a little bit different. So if you want to look at optimizing your cost, maybe you set up SQL Azure and you need to provision it once every 3 months to 90% higher than what it is, and then have it go back down, and it's expensive. And you want to, maybe you're wondering, is there a better way to do this thing? Can I save money? Again, we provide free consultation, whether you're a customer or not. So, come to us. We're happy to help you look at your resources, suggest how we know that you can very simply optimize things. And if nothing else, just share information from you, because Microsoft Cloud shouldn't be kept behind a locked door. Tier 1 does provide bandwidth discounts. This is something that Microsoft provides to only Tier 1 cloud solution providers. So not all bandwidth items are able to be discounted, but a lot are. And any that are discounted, some are discounted 100%. We don't say, oh, look, free money. We pass that on to you. And we do provide overall, unlike Office 365 and other cloud products, we do provide a discount in Azure. So some Azure bandwidth is discounted 100% and you get that cost. And we're always thinking about security. Again, being a CSP, we provide you one consolidated bill for anything in your cloud, as well as everything supporting it. And we secure the crap out of your cloud. I know Cloud Protect in the advanced security slide down here, there's a bullet point that says Cloud Protect. This is something that we built when we were challenging Microsoft about what happens if somebody hacks MFA? How can you tell if an account is being targeted? Being reactive, we, if you are hacked, provide breach protection, breach recovery services. So we'll go into your tenant, kick that sucker out, get him to, look for any changes they made, and then, identify the vulnerability and come back. But even that, more than most companies do, wasn't enough for us. We didn't want to be reactive. We built a product literally to be able to identify any atypical activity happening across your tenants, which our team monitors and brings to you. And this can be customized as well. So with that, I don't know, I don't think there are any more slides on there. Are there, Sherman?
No.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, with that, I am more than happy to hand it over. I guess I'll go ahead and do the introduction, right, Sherman? Or do you want to do that?
I'll go ahead. I'll grab it from you. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Katie. And Katie's going to be part of this presentation. So we're going to be kind of going back to her and talking about a couple of things that we're doing here. So my name is Sherman Crancer. We are the lead Azure Immersion Workshop Facilitator for the Microsoft US and Canada subsidiary. And at the expense of, Ryan Tech, they brought us in to basically go over fundamentals of, deploying a virtual machine. And that's really what we're doing today. We're going to be deploying a virtual machine, but more importantly, not just the mechanics of it. I'm going to talk to you a lot about security. I'm going to talk to you a lot about cost optimization, how to do it correctly, being careful with what you're doing. It's really the tips and tricks and pro tips, and it's a minefield. So that's what we're going to be doing. So, but part of this is there's six different exercises we're going to do, and what I do need from you, if you could please be so kind as to when I ask you if you're good to go, just give me a good to go. Now you can do two things. You can either watch. And that's fine. Just, if I'm watching, even if you're watching, just say good to go, you're there, because I want to be able to also answer any questions. We have a smaller class today, so this is awesome. We can just ask away. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you best practices. I'm here to do this. And we're doing this on behalf of Ryan Tech. They brought us in to do this for you. So it's kind of and then also the thing is, part of this immersion experience, we have some polling that's going to be happening as well. And that just kind of keeps us abreast, and it kind of helps me understand where you're going. So we did one. Thank you very much with your experience. It helps me understand how fast or slow I can go. Now I have another one here. I'm kind of curious. Where are you in the cloud journey? Are you fully migrated to the cloud? Are you currently have a hybrid cloud environment? Not in the cloud yet, but I'm thinking about migrating, or no, I'm still on-prem. I'd be interested to see what people have here. So it looks like, okay, we got 3 of them. I currently have a hybrid environment. Awesome. I'll leave this open to here. So, I want to get right into clicking. Okay. I really want to get right into the meat of this program. So we should be all here at the Azure portal. Is anybody not here? Please just speak up or tell me you're having trouble getting into the Azure portal.
I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So with this being said here, your portal should be optimized just like mine. And basically, I just want to show you one quick trick over here. Top right-hand corner, actually, 2 things. You see where it says on my screen, info at Azure Direct? That's who I am today is in my sandbox. Your sandbox is either CIE 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just remember that naming convention, because we're going to need that today. Okay. And then the other thing I just want to show you really quickly is how to optimize the view. So if you could all click on the gear icon really quickly, I'm going to show you, it's the appearance. So you go to gear, you go to appearance. I'm going to show you how normally your portal is. This is what normal portal is. Okay, so this is your pro tip number 1. At Microsoft, what we do is we have a different way of looking at things. So we want to have our menu bar on the left-hand side, and we want to have our production environment on the inside. So you go to settings, right? Your icon, appearance, go to docked, and then we have blue, and then we go ahead and apply it. And now you can see, just like it's on your side, you should have the menu bar on the left-hand side, the production environment right in here. Okay, awesome. Now, let's just go over here. We're going to be using the search function a couple times today. So we'll go up here for searching for certain things. I'm going to show you. And also, the main button we're going to be using to provision services is actually the All Services button on the left-hand side. I've got a target indicator on my screen. You can see I'm going to be using this to help make sure that you guys can find where I'm pointing it to. Okay, and then I want us all to click on resource groups. So resource groups. Okay, resource groups. Right. This is the number 1 fundamental thing that we have to do whenever we're provisioning anything inside of Azure. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you some security policies behind it, but we want to get right into it first of all. So could anybody here share with me what they think a resource group is, or would they like me to explain it in layperson's terms? And you can just go to chat window and say, please explain. Container. Okay, it's a container. Yeah. A bucket of related resources. Good job, Mandu. Okay, what else we got here? Anybody else? Let's see. Okay, let's see. All right. So let me explain it in I do it kind of a layperson's terms, because there's a bunch of different components to this. There's a lot more in resource groups than you think. Okay, so the way I like to explain it to people is, look, you're building a skyscraper, right? You're building a skyscraper. You're building 2 of them right next to each other, right? And both of them have the people, have the you have your cement, your steel, your electrical, your bulldozers, your cranes, right? Everything's in one side. And then right next door, another thing, right? The same thing, right? They have all the cranes and bulldozers and all the materials, right? But you notice, if you're looking at these two skyscrapers, there's no fence around the skyscraper, right? And then you realize, like, wait a minute, okay, so all my resources to build this skyscraper are here, but what I want to do is I want to ring fence it. I want to put a fence around both of the different buildings that we're building, right? Because what we want to do is contain and understand what is working with that. So first of all, it's kind of a way to put everything together, much easier to find, right? Okay, so let me just explain a little bit further. So now you put around this resource, right? You got that, right? And then you have people that are inside of this resource. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the first thing I want to mention for security is when you provision or when you're in Azure and you have other people that work with you inside of Azure, the one thing I'm going to tell you cautionary tool is do not allow everybody to have access to the main Azure portal. Okay, we don't want that. That's the worst thing you could do. What we want to do is have our workers who are working on whatever we're doing to have access specifically to the resource group only. Okay, because there's too much. There's 858 different services in Microsoft Azure, and oh my gosh, people can come in and they can do things that would end up messing everything up. So, for example, in the story of building this building, you have these construction workers that are there, right? And you don't want them to have access maybe to the other site, but you also don't want them to have access to the main corporate office, right? The bricklayer, you don't want him to be able to go to a corporate office and then go right up to the presidential layer, right? And say, hey, in a presidential area and like just sit down and eat lunch in the president's office. You don't want to have that. And that's the same thing inside of resource groups. You want to allow only the people that you are working on that particular product or that workload to have access to that. Number two, I'm going to give you a story. Imagine if one of those workers inside the resource group, calls up, the cement truck, company and says, hey, I want you to send over 30 cement trucks full of cement. Yeah, go ahead and just bill me, right? And click, right? Then the foreman's like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait, whoa, take it easy. I don't want to do that. That's going to kill our budget, right? Well, that's the same thing inside of Azure. When it comes out, it's automatically open. It's free willy. It's free services. You've got to be so very careful with this. What you want to do is put in things called policies and use identity access management controls to make sure they have only access to certain things, but they also have limitations. And this is what a lot of documentation doesn't talk about, but these are the pro tips that we want to help you first secure your environment, have access to those things, right? So inside of this, we have a resource group, fundamental first step. And if you're doing like a SQL server, you'd have a SQL RSG resource group. If Windows Data Center 2019, which we're doing today, we'll have that resource group for that. That's how we do it. So just want to make sure, does that make sense when I'm talking about RSG as well as the security kind of continuity with that? If I could just get a yes or a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. All right. So what I want us to do here is I'm going to show you how to do this here. Go into your resource group. So you should have CIE what? Just go ahead and click into it. I'm going to click into the info RSG. Okay. And when I'm inside the info RSG, the two steps to actually do what I just talked about are one, the identity access control. Okay, so I'll click on that. I want everybody here to click on identity access control. You may not be able to do this, but I'll show you here. And this is where we add people and give them certain rights, okay, to this particular resource. So to individual access control, we go to add, we click on add role assignment, okay, and then we can go, it says owner, contributor, reader, right? So we want to give the people contributor access, right? Very simple. Next, we would go into, we do a user or group, we can select specific members, right? And this is going to be in your Azure Active Directory. So what if I gave AVD1 and I can select that one, I'm giving them access to do this, and then I would review, and then I would quickly just push assign. Now we've added that role assignment to this, so now they have access to this, right? So, okay, cool, right? That's awesome, right? So now they have only access. So when they open up the Azure portal, just like you have, all they see is one resource group. That's it. And then we've limited. Now let's look at policies really quickly. So in the same resource group that you have, I want you to click on policies. Now, when you click on policies, what you're going to see, you're not going to be able to assign the policy because I've ring fenced you. I've limited your ability to do that, right? But as you see the two that are down here, okay, yes, and George, you can do that with groups. It doesn't have to be just individuals. You can 100% do that with groups. It makes it easy to get in. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Okay, and I like that type of question. That means that like this is resonating. We're clicking something, so thank you. Now on the policy, I'm doing the policy based on this particular resource group. I'm not doing it based on something else, right? I'm doing it on the resource group, okay? I'm not based it on the total subscription, which I've done earlier for everybody here, but I'm doing this based on just the resource group. So as you can see in here, I have this, and at the subscription level, not allowed resource types. So I don't allow you to do certain things, right? Number two, it says allowed virtual machine sizes. So this is one of the number one issues that plague a lot of partners that are doing it by themselves is somebody comes in and they deploy a virtual machine that costs you $10,000 a day. Okay, 3,000. I know that because I've seen one, right? And you got to be careful. So in this event, I'll show you how to do it. You would click on assign policy. And by the way, we're going to send you the recording of this. So if I'm a little fast, no problem. You'll get another chance to look at it. And the scope is this resource group, right? And then I'm going to go down to policy definition. So there's 55 policies that are available to you, right? And it'd be difficult to scroll through all of them. So I'm just going to filter this one on size because this is the number one that I think you should do for any one of yours. I type in size, and then what do I get? Allowed virtual machine size SKUs. So I click on that and I would push select. When I do that, then I get, well, okay, perfect. That's the assignment name. And I go next. And it gives me parameters. And I love this one because watch this. I click the downward chevron, and now I can select which virtual machine sizes they could choose to put in, right? And that's all they get. They can't do anything else, okay? And I've done that for your group, right, already. And I would basically just go to next, remediation. We can create a managed identity if we have to, or non-compliance messages. Sorry, Charlie, no VM sizing for you, right? So like this could be the message they get when they try to do it, right? And then we would just go to review and create, and then actually create this message right here. So then it would come down as a policy, right? But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this policy just because I don't want it to mess up anything. So that's what I did. So just want to make sense. This is the way to do it. Okay. Now that we got resource groups out of the way, this is fundamental first steps, how we do it, how we section it out, how we put people in place. Okay. Now our next fundamental step is we need to add a virtual network to the actual resource group or to this assignment. That's our fundamental next step. And that's basically saying, hey, we're going to put a little gate right next to the fence or in the fence. You know, I can't have a closed gate. We need to be able to allow people in and let people out. That's really what it is. Okay. So what I want you to do is actually go to where it says all services on the top left-hand corner. Okay. I'm going to slow down here. All services, okay? And what I love about all services is all categories. I don't use create a resource anymore. It's crazy. So I got all services, and then what I want you to click on is virtual networks. Okay. A question? Anyone have a question? Nope. Okay. All right. So we're in virtual networks, and what we're going to do is create a virtual network, okay? So top left-hand corner is create. Now, what I love about this in Azure, it's a portal. Okay, it's an Azure, using the portal, it uses wizards. Okay, now you can use Cloud Shell if you want to, right? You can actually do Cloud Shell and do all the coding. However, if you don't know the errors in Cloud Shell or Bash, I would suggest you go to the portal because that'll just tear your hair out. You just be like, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out. So now in the portal, the lovely thing here is it just goes from left to right. Basics, IP addresses, security, tags, and review and create. So it's very simple stuff, okay? I'm going to show you, we'll slow down, but we're going to go from top to bottom, and then I'm going to give you some tips, okay? So the subscription you should leave alone, no problem, okay? Underneath that, we're going to do a resource group. I want you to select your resource group. I'm going to select info RSG because I have that. And then I'm just going to give it a name, right? I'm going to give it virtual network -01, okay? Or VN01. Simple, okay? Now, I want you to click on IP addresses. Okay, so since we have some intermediates here, we'll change this up. So normally Microsoft provides you these these IP addresses. It's awesome, actually, because you don't have to like think about it. Gives you an IPv4 and a default, but I just want to show you just in case. So what we should do, everybody go ahead and trash the one they gave you. Okay, and then we're going to enter in 10.2.0.0/26, or 24, actually. And I'll put that in the chat window for you, just in case. Okay. And as you can see, look, remember when I put 24, I got a green checkbox. Well, what if I try to do a Frankenstein? Whoops, it won't allow me. And that's what I really like about the portal. Okay. Checkbox, good. Okay. Now we have to add a subnet. So let's go down to subnet. It's where the below button is. See what it says add subnet? There's a plus next to it. Click on that. Okay. Now take your cursor and bring it over to subnet name on the top right-hand corner. Okay, and we're going to just call it demo lab subnet. Simple. Okay. Let's go to subnet range. 10.2.0.0/26. And now we've got the green checkbox. I'll put that into the chat window. Boom. Okay. You got that one? Awesome. Okay. Now, all you have to do is push add. Okay. Now let's get over to security. My advice to you is leave everything disabled unless you have a website that you're deploying. They got like 1 million visitors that you could be a target, that kind of a thing. Then you do enable. However, the pitfall here, the pit with spikes, is that this costs about $900 a month just to implement this piece. Okay. The standard protection you get is already great. The basic is already, it's typically just fine. But if you really need that extra hit, then you can do this enable, but don't do that in here, please. Okay. Next is tags. We're not going to ever use tags today, but this is where you'd want to be able to track classification, and then just go straight to review and create. Okay. And when we review it, you know, as you've seen in the past, validation passes, just go ahead and push create. Okay, so this is our first exercise. I just need a little bit of feedback from the group here, if you would be so kind. Come to the chat window and just give me a GTG, you're good to go. I just want to make sure that no one is hung up like on an error, okay? Thank you, Cody, Fernando, Philip, awesome. Okay, anybody else here? Let's see. Okay, George, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, all right, perfect. And Mandu, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, awesome. So the next thing we're going to do is create an availability set. So go to the search window, type in AVA. And what I like about the search window is it tells us the two things. The market services on the left are what Microsoft provided. Marketplace is what independent software vendors create to make the services go quicker, faster, better. So I'm just going to click on availability sets and go ahead and press create. Now, I'm curious, do you guys want me to explain what availability set is, or do you guys know this? You're intermediate. If anybody here wants me to explain it, I can. Okay, thank you, Mandu. Okay, so what an availability set really is, think about risk, okay? Think about being like in a data center and you're on one rack, right? One domain, and the power comes off, right? Or there's a fault, there's something that happens that hits that. Well, your VM that's on that domain is going to be down as well. Okay, so what an availability set, it says, hey, look, we're going to take that VM and we're going to spread the risk. We're going to attach it to an availability set that says, hey, if one domain goes down, flip that VM to another domain so it's always up. Okay, or if certain domains are being updated, flip it off of that update because we can't have it down, allow the update, and then when they update the other one, it flips back. So it's really about availability. Now, what's also awesome about this is typically you're going to get like 2 nines SLA, right? You add an availability set, now you get 3 nines. Okay, we add a network security group, we get 4 nines on our SLAs because they really want to make sure that you're okay with this. Okay, so that's really what the availability set is. Okay, and so to create it, very simple, resource group, just put it inside of your resource group. Okay, mine is info RSG. Okay, boom. And then the name, okay, just give it AVA set dash 01. Availability set 01, okay? We can also do availability zones where we're like, hey, we don't want it in just one data center. I want my availability zone where my VM can go from one data center to another data center in the same region of an Azure region. Okay, that's like supreme. So creating an availability set doesn't really increase your cost of Azure. An availability zone will nominally, maybe 1%. Okay, actually, Microsoft prefers that you have an availability set. Okay, now I see here it says fault domains. We're going to leave this as 2. Okay, and then but the up domains we want to have 5 because sometimes Microsoft will update 3 domains at a time. Okay, so that's the pro tips. Next, let's go to advanced. We're not going to do anything in advanced. We're not going to do anything in tags. Go straight to review and create, validate, and create. Okay. Now the deployment is in progress. And boom, we got it. Okay. So fundamentally, okay, we're doing this and it seems backwards, but fundamentally, we created the resource group. We already did that for you, but you did, right? Then we created the virtual network to give us access, and that's inside the resource group. Then the availability set that we're creating that's going to help with this VM, and then we put that into the resource group. Now, what do? We create the virtual machine, okay? And this is where we're talking about a lot about cost optimization and the problems and the issues. So this is where it is. Okay, so let's go over to all services. Okay, I'm going to put my top left-hand corner. Click on that, and the second little picture is virtual machines. Click on that, and then go ahead and click on create. I love that we have a lot of intermediates today because I don't have to go so slow. But hey, let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay, so okay, we have this, right? Okay, awesome. Now, I don't know if you guys all know this, but these are blades instead of pages. If you go to any docs.microsoft.com site, that's where you're going to get, right? Okay, so we have this here. Awesome, create a virtual machine. And these are the basics. And there's a bunch of stuff on here that are going to be really important. Now, Katie, I'm going to bring you in when we talk about sizes of the virtual machines and some of the pitfalls and some things that you might hear. Actually, let me ask you this, Katie. Are you there? Yeah, perfect. Okay. You know, when you're talking to clients, have you had any experience with clients saying, "Hey, Katie, I have this server right here. It's got all these current requirements. Give me a cost of what it takes to move this to the cloud."
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Right.
And,
okay.
and it's funny because it's like, I could tell you 130 different ways to move this to the cloud and 130 different costs, but let's talk through what your needs are a little bit more. Let's whittle this down, make it a little bit more simple.
Yeah, and the way we built servers 5 years ago is totally different than we do today, right?
Oh,
or
yeah.
in the cloud. So you can't do it the way you did it. It's totally a different architecture completely. And it's also based on the applications, right? And I mean, you would probably attest to this, Katie, that we're seeing a lot of those servers, like the Exchange server, the QuickBooks, they're all going away, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lots of license types are going away. They're just, Microsoft is already in the process of funneling all of their old products, license types, and everything else out. And it's going to cloud, and it's going to cloud solution providers.
Yeah. Yeah. And then let me talk about one other thing here. And now we're going to click through here. And this is actually really important, is understanding, you know, the type of application too, because, you know, a file server or a backup, you know, you can run that all day, every day, and your monthly cost may be like $250. Simple, because you're just tiny access, right? But how about a SQL server? You know, typically SQL servers run 24 hours a day on-prem, but in reality, they're only reconciling maybe 2 to 3 hours, maybe, right? That's when like the machine starts smoking, right? But would you run and I'll ask you this, Katie, what would your response if someone says, hey, I want to run my SQL Server 24 hours a day in Azure? What would be the problem with that?
Well, we actually just had this conversation with somebody, and they were also needing to, I think I made this reference earlier, once every 3 months, they do, I forget exactly what it was, but they basically needed to triple their storage. But it was just once every 3 months. And they were so scared about, well, what does this mean? What, like, I don't want this to have the ability to just triple anytime at once. We actually talked to them about going to a managed instance instead, which we've done for other people. And in fact, when this was going to be one of my examples, I have an additional example where basically we took their cost from $1,200 a month down to $50 by changing how they were putting SQL Server into the cloud.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And that's the thing, there's a thing called reserved instance. And this is one of the things that I really want to kind of explain if you don't really understand it or know about it. Well, and this kind of coincides with how we build things in Azure. That type of, or a SQL Server like that, maybe we buy a reserved instance, right? So we say, okay, over the year, this is what we're going to be using because we know it's only going to be doing 3 hours a day, or wait a minute, 3 hours a day, but then maybe the next month we have a 16-hour day, right? Or something like that. We want to do that. And then you reduce your cost by about, 40, 50, 60%. Okay. And that's what happens. Now, spot instances are different. And we're going to check on that. Good question, Fernando. Good question. Spot instances. Well, so the spot instance is it's actually for test dev. It's unused Azure resources. Test dev, you spin something up pretty quick. You can't convert that to a production environment, which you got to be a little careful with, which is totally ridiculous, but they're kind of a pain in the butt with that. I don't know why. But anyways, I think there's such a discount on that. So if you want to create something that you're going to run, a little bit, then yeah, we do a spot instance, right? Okay, we're trying to make sure that we can do it, spot instance, okay? Because if you're not sure how you can do it, and you're using the regular cost, well, holy smokes, it could be a lot of money, right? So that's good on that one. Good question though, Fernando. All right, so that's the reserved instance piece, right? So I'm curious, I've got another poll here with, what is it, reserved instance? I'm kind of curious, are any of you using reserved instance currently for your cloud environment? Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so we've got a couple people, okay. Yeah, and that's kind of how it typically works. Interesting. And let me show, actually, this is one of the few I'm going to share the results. We don't share who did it or whatever, but the results are, and this was interesting, right? We have one that probably is, and that's typically what we see. And this, I'm going to show you something else that is going to blow you away as far as how to cost Azure out, and you'll find out what I'm going to have very similar reference here. All right, so let's get into building this machine. Okay, Microsoft Azure resource group. We already know how to do that. Just tag it to your resource group. Let's give it a name. Demo Lab BM01. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Remember the region, you want it closest to your network for latency. And then how about ingress and egress traffic? You don't want to pay a whole lot of money, but hey, plug. If you work with Ryan Tech, you get that for free. Okay, but so take that, make sure it's closest to your network. Okay, now remember, we created an availability set. So what we want to do is tag this availability set to that VM. Okay, so click on a no infrastructure required and select availability set. Okay, now it's going to give us another window that says, well, which one? Okay, well, if we have the right resource group, it's automatically going to put the one that we just built. Now we have it tagged. The VM is going to be in this availability set with 2 fault domains and 5 update domains. Okay, cool. Now, skip the security type. We're leaving that standard. If you have it, image. This is kind of cool actually to know. 52% of all images in Microsoft are Linux based. So this is where you would change the image if you wanted to, but leave it at 2019 data center. Okay. This is your spot instance. This was from Fernando. Good question. Okay. Now size. This is the number 2 most, and this happens all the time. Wrong sizing the environment, and they make problems. They make issues. And I'm going to show you something. So do you notice right here, I have standard D4S v3. Okay. So our guidance to all the Microsoft customers that we provide, advice to, right? And there's 36 labs a month. We teach like over 400 or 500 people a month, okay, on this. And what's interesting about it is we always tell everybody proof of concept. Proof of concept. Just drill it into your head, proof of concept. You start small, we just turn it up. That's the beauty of Azure. So we always want to start actually with this particular one. And the reason why we start with this one is because this one gives us all access to all potential Azure services. If you go smaller, you might only have 90%, 80%, 60% because you're just not powerful enough. But what I want you to do is I want you to click on see all sizes. This is the problem, okay? If we take this and scroll to the right, you're going to see cost per month. Well, I'll come up here, right? Cost per month. The one that we suggest for you is $274.48 per month, okay? Really important, okay? So we start here. Not too costly, we understand, right? Okay. So you can start with these smaller ones, whatever, but our proof of concept, the guidance is, and specifically because, when you're pricing an Azure infrastructure migration, okay, you have to look at the applications that you're going to be bringing over, right? So if it is a file server, maybe the file server, it just needs a D4 SV3, right? If it's another type of server that has, different needs, then we would schedule a different need type of server, okay? But you're looking more at the applications that you're working with determines the size of the VM that you're using. You need to understand what are the specifications around that particular application. What does it need to run? Okay, so that's where we're going with this. But let me show you something else. What I want you to do, I want you to scroll down and I want to explain to you how Microsoft thinks. So Microsoft has created pre-configured templates for you to use as a starting point. Okay, so they have templates for general purpose, for high performance compute, third generation, et cetera, okay? What I'd like you to do, and then look at this, we have premium storage, older generation sizes, D series, isolated sizes that you want. But what I have a question for the group here, okay? If I had an application, and so there's the descriptions over here, okay? If I had to have an application that had a high memory need, I needed that more than I needed compute power. What series would I look to start with? And fill me in on the chat window. So to look at the descriptions, what series of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, D, D4, let's look at D4. No, not D4, not D4. Just try again. What series would I use if I had a high memory need? Yes, George, E series. Very good, very good. So click on that E series, okay? Everyone click on it. And the beauty of this, it shows us this little atrophy too, little Tyrannosaurus Rex arm, right, for the CPU. But the memory is like this huge, muscle. Now the camera makes it look bigger than it actually is. I don't have human muscle there, but but you know what I mean, right? Okay, let's click down. How about if I had a high compute or high performance compute? Which one would I go to if I needed something that's just a monster right out of the gate? What series would I use? H, exactly. Look at that one. H, 44 cores, right? Or CPUs, 352 gigs of RAM. Now look at the price for this one though, $3,790. So let's go back to my explanation of allowing certain sizes, right? You're not allowing, okay? Imagine if one of your people that you didn't put a limit on your resource group decided that they're like, ooh, let me try this out. And they got a $3,000 bill for this one. How would you feel? Well, your reputation could be lost and or your job, right? Or allowing somebody to do that. So that's why it's so important to understand these fundamentals, right? And how to approach these things, okay? And how to approach, it's so very important. I can't drill this down hard enough. I take extra time on this because this is the number one mistake made by not only customers, but partners. Now, there's a couple of routes to market. And actually, Katie was talking about this as a CSP provider. There's two other ways to buy Microsoft licensing. One is through an enterprise agreement, which is you have to be a company 600 seats and above, but you have to buy it on 3 years and you end up buying it from like a Dell or a Soft Choice. And they just contract pushers. They don't give you any support and your help ticket nominal. It's horrible. The other way is pay as you go. Okay. And that's when you can go directly to Microsoft, no problem. Right. But the problem with that one is two things. One, they don't tell you this stuff. Okay. You're on your own. You're on your own for implementation, but you're also on for support. Okay. And that's why going through a CSP provider, and that's what I'm going, that's what I can do. All right. Fernando says, that's the bottom price. It can go up. Yes, actually 1,000%. That's the bottom price. Bitcoin mining machine, $12,000 in one day. I saw it myself. Okay. Interesting, right? All right. So let's just fit on D4SV3. Okay. And just push select. All right. So it's actually so important to me. I do have a poll that says, do you now understand how to size a virtual VM? I'm curious. I just want to make sure we all got that. In the case it says no, I'm going to say, okay, what question do you have? All right. So yes. All right. Very good. 2, 3. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yes, would like to know more information. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, we can help you out with that. No problem. No problem at all. Good deal. Good deal. Okay. Now, let's go to, so standard. Now our username and password, I'm going to put it in the chat window. Demo user. Okay, that's the, and the password is PASSWORD.1 bang bang. Okay. There's your password. So put that in here. Okay. I'm putting the password in. Okay. Let me just look at it to make sure I got the right one. Yep, got the right one. Okay. Next, for the purposes of the lab, we're going to say allow only the RDP ports. Okay. However, my real guidance to you is to select none.
1 second. What chat did you put that in?
In our chat, yeah, where you said where, I think I just put to, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I put that to the hosts and panelists. I gave them the stuff. Hold on a minute. Okay, demo user. And then now can you see it?
Can't find the mute button, but yes, now I see it. And
okay,
then,
awesome. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. We just had somebody come in, Kiwin. Hey, Kiwin, good to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Yeah, you could, but just remember it, okay? Because we have to get in, we have to use that to get in. If you use mine, then I can always say, oh, here it is. So, all right, cool. Okay, so this one says allowed, but my advice to you is you always should say no. And then what you do is you create a policy. You actually create an inbound support rule, and I'll show you that in a second. But look, for right now, just leave it alone. Okay. Next thing is this thing called hybrid use benefit. And I bet you the majority of you may not even be doing this or know about this. So this is one of the coolest things. So the majority of you already have Windows licenses, right? So imagine if you had a Windows license that was Windows Data Center 2012 R2. Okay, the last one, right? The last one. You want to upgrade, but you're like, darn it, there's a cost to upgrade that, right? Right? So you're kind of holding on to it to the bitter end, right? Well, if you go into Azure and we say, hey, we want to deploy what? 2019 data center, okay? And we let them know that we actually say, hey, we have a server license on-prem with software assurance, okay? Okay, great. Well, then I'm going to check this box, and then I'm going to also confirm, and you'll have to put in your license ID number, by the way, not here, but later on, okay? Okay, now, but look at this. Now scroll up. Check that out. The cost went from 270 to 140. Now, Katie, I'm going to call on you in just a second about this. I'm interested to hear what you think on reserved instant or a hybrid benefit. But the other thing too, okay, is now you can download the latest copy, 2019 on top of the other one. And now you're, not only do you get 50% off, but you also get the brand new copy on-prem, which is so cool. Okay. Now, if you're in AWS, you still have to buy your own server license for AWS and your own license for on-prem. So if you're on AWS, you might want to start thinking about coming on over. Katie, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any stories or any kind of a reserve, hybrid use benefit, how you might have helped a customer and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, absolutely. With software assurance, you always have the most up-to-date version of that software. So we have had a couple of customers, one in specific, that they wanted to start migrating to the cloud because they were very in front of the technology. They know that that's where things are going. They see that other license types are going away, and they still had a lot of very totally working, not out of date hardware in their server stack. One of the best things I think about the hybrid use benefit is it allows you to easily and inexpensively step into the cloud, move one piece at a time at a rate that is perfect for you. Not that you can't do that otherwise, but it really ended up enhancing what they were doing because they had way more capabilities once they did hybrid use benefits in Azure. And so it just kind of took their capabilities from, I wouldn't say zero, but, for lack of a better term, from zero to hero, and really allowed them to go at their own pace while saving 50%. That's been something that's really, really fun. And also, I am a cloud expert, but if I would invite you, if anybody does have any questions about on-prem licensing or SQL, software assurance specifically, you're more than welcome to direct those questions to me because I've got longer experience with that before I started doing cloud. Still, I just have a lot of experience in both of them. So anyway, guide your direct, questions towards me. I'm happy to help you out with those questions.
Wonderful. Great. Where's the story with that, right? And this is how we want to help paint pictures and how to do this and how to make this. And this is a big part of optimization. Okay, is understanding this and how do your applications work together, or what type of thing? How do we like Katie mentioned earlier, what was it? The water, my saying is the water finds the crack. But what is your saying? There's always an end
there's
around.
Always a loophole.
A loophole, okay. But the water it always finds a crack, and we're going to find where we go. That's kind of like how I look at it. I know that kind of sounds weird, but there's always a loophole, right? But the same thing inside of Azure, right? There's a lot of I think they're almost minefields, right? It's almost like these false traps with spikes underneath these things, because you don't know, right? And without having this type of session, you wouldn't know. The docs.microsoft.com, it's like reading another language sometimes, and the way people think about how they, some of these Microsoft executives, how they explain the thought always sometimes makes me think, did you actually reread that? That doesn't make any sense. Like that just who are you making sense to? Like, I don't know.
Well, and another example is probably one of my favorite ones is we had a company, they had 57 individual Windows server they had basically one Windows server with its own SQL server, with its own applications, with its own basically like 57 different server stacks. They tried to move to Azure and it was a horrible experience. They did end up talking to us. We were able to do a proof of concept. We helped them move in the right way, especially stepping into it with hybrid use benefits and working our Azure magic. And we took their spend from, I don't remember. I think it was like $32,000 a month is what they were spending before. And we were able to cut that in half in Azure by stepping into it the right way. And they learned there's a wrong way to do it because they found that themselves. So sometimes you just, it's really important to learn the caveats and the risks that do exist. And that's why I'm super happy that all of you are on this meeting today.
Awesome. That was great. All right, everyone, let's get back into clicking here. So unclick, work with Colo. Yes, absolutely. So on the licensing, so let's unclick the checkbox there. Okay, no problem. And let's go ahead and click on disks. We need to add a data disk to this, right? So it comes with our OS disk, no problem. And so down on the below where it says create and attach a new disk, okay, let's click on that. And all we have to do is just say, okay. We could change the size if we wanted to, but no, we're good. So let's just go, okay. Ready? Okay. Now on top of it, let's go to networking. So networking The nice thing about this, because you put the info or your RSG, your resource group there, it's going to pull in the virtual network that we already created, right? So that's cool, right? Subnet, public IP. But this is something that I bet you none of you know about. It's called the network security group, okay? And what you want to do here is you want to click on the advanced radio button, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to configure called a network security group. And what that does is that allows us to build out inbound and outbound security rules, allowing certain people to have access to an inbound port, selecting certain ports that we want to allow them to have access to, right? And then outbound security rules, what can and cannot happen. So we need to create an NSG. This is fundamentals, okay? This should be with every one of your deployments. If you don't have it, or a partner sets you up without this, time to look at somebody who knows what they're doing. And I know that was a little forceful, I know, but it gets me like, a lot of people don't know how to set this stuff up correctly. Okay, Demo Lab NSG, we'll talk about it in a second. Okay, let's go to management. Nothing in management really that we're going to touch on right now, but if you had Azure Active Directory, you want to log in from there, auto shutdown, backup. Okay, fine. We're going to show you how to back it up in just a second. Okay, let's just click on advanced, go to tags, go straight into review and create. And go ahead and push when you get the validation is passed. Okay, then we go strictly to create. All right, the deployment is in progress. When you're here, when it says deployment in progress, can you please come to me, come to the chat window and give me a thumbs up or a GTG, because I want to get right into creating a recovery services vault, and we can do this while it's deploying. All right, code is good, Mandu. Okay, awesome, Mando. Okay, George. Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. Good jobs, everyone. Awesome. Okay, let me talk about backup. Okay, so Microsoft says, hey, you're fine. Don't worry about it. We've got resources. We got you. If we go down, your VM is going to be okay. However, you may not know that if your VM gets compromised or a bad actor gets into it and destroys it or whatever happens to it, and you don't have it backed up, you are swimming up the creek. Okay, you got a problem, right? So let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to create what's called a recovery services vault, and that vault is going to be the place where we store our images. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So if you go here, just type in search window, type in RECO, short for RECO. Okay. Now I've got my recovery services vaults. I'm going to go to the plus sign for creating a vault. It's a very simple exercise here. Okay, we just put it into the resource group. And then we give it a name, RECO-12. I'll do 1.5. Okay, and then I push review and create. That's all I got to do. And I push create. Okay, so now this is being attached. Okay, so cool. All right, deployments and products 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bing. I'm getting good at that timing. All right. So now let's go back to our VM that's been provisioned. Okay, so clicking on the bell icon, top right-hand corner. That's why I love it. And the second one down should be your creation of the VM. Go ahead and click on that. Okay, now we're in the actual virtual machine. It's been deployed, right? And we can see our public IP address and all these other cool things here. And then we have our connect button, which we're going to press in a second. But first of all, we want to show you how to back up this VM. But I'm going to ask you, please do not enable the backup because it goes into a soft delete. It takes me about 2 hours to get it back out. So I want you to scroll down on the left-hand side where it says operations, and we're going to click on backup. Okay. Now, what we want to do is select our existing, right? RECO 15. Okay, that's what we would do. And then do you see here, it has the policy to back it up every day. Okay, but maybe we want to do just something different. We could create a new policy if we wanted to. Okay, but we don't. But this is what we would do. We would enable it, and then bam, we are in good shape. Every day, we've got to have a snapshot, something happens to it. Everything. So the fundamentals are the key to success, and the fundamentals are the key to making sure that we always do really well. Okay, awesome. Now, let's go ahead and click on the X button. And what I want us to do is I want us to go into the network security group. So how much good to go? How much is, I'm sorry, Fernando, how much is what? Daily backup? It's nominal. It's pennies. It's pennies. It's just added to your subscription cost. We're still going to be around $280 a month. No problem. Okay. Now, let's look at the network resource group. So I want you to go to your resource group, go to resource groups on the left-hand side, click in. Okay. Now, when you're inside of your resource group, you're going to see a whole bunch of things, right? So let me, so I see all the things that I provisioned, right? What I want to do is I want to go down to where it says Demo Lab VMO1-NSG. So please click on that. Now we're in our network security group. And this is where we would say, hey, remember when I talked about let's not do any inbound backup, allow inbound traffic from the very beginning. This is where I would now do it. So let's say an inbound security role, I'm going to click. It's where settings is. So if you click on that and you went to add, now we can actually, like for example, we can do destination port ranges. I can make 80 for destination port range, and I can give it a lab. I give it a name, demo lab rule, right? And then we can push add if we wanted to, or you can. So it's going to create the security role. And then what's going to happen, let me go and refresh this. Do you see how it says demo lab rule? Boom. This is where you go to put it together. Okay. Let's go back one, breadcrumb one, back to our resource group. And now let's go back to our virtual machine. Okay. Now we're in our virtual machine and we need to connect to it. Okay. We've done it. We've done all the fundamental steps to make sure this machine is tight. This machine is secure. This machine, only certain people have access to it. Okay. Let's click on connect. And see where it says RDP? Click on RDP. And then download the RDP file. And then open the file. So unknown publisher, that's okay. We know that, it's brand new. Say connect. Okay, now it's going to ask you for your credentials. Now, be careful here, because if it has your domain for your own business, look down and it says more choices, click on that and sign in with the ones that we created, which was demo user. And then the capital PASSWORD.1 bang bang. And then push OK. Trust it because it's brand new. We don't have a certificate on it yet. Dun, da, da. We've done it. So you should be seeing your server manager coming up here in a second. So no, my server manager. And this is weird. I got this weird tick, I think. I don't know where it came from. But every time I deploy any virtual machine, the first thing I actually do, before I even go server manager, I double click on the file explorer. And I want to make sure that my data disk is installed. Maybe because I missed it one time. But I go here for just Jennifer. Like, okay, awesome. Whew. Okay, we're good. That's always do. And then I can go to the server manager. So cool. All right, who here made it? Curious. George, great job, brother. Cody, all right. Fernando, all right. Done, okay, very cool. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, so a couple other things that I just want to quickly show you here. And that's, we can get out of this. Let's get out of that. Renee made a lot of notes. Awesome. We're sending you guys, I'm going to do two things for you. We're going to send you the recording, and I'm actually going to send you the walkthrough. You guys want the walkthrough? That's the way B, C, D, E, F, G. All right, cool. I'll do that. Yeah, no problem. Okay. So, Katie, let me ask you a question. When somebody comes to you to migrate, and I know there's different tools to use to like migrate, something and figuring out, how do you guys approach it?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, we do everything with a completely custom approach. There are tools that can be used as well. We tend to do what is right, not necessarily what is popular. I know a lot of companies out there use the Azure optimization tool. I don't want to seem like a braggart or anything, but we essentially have hired Azure experts and engineers in-house where they are the Azure optimization tool. But for somebody who maybe wants to look at doing it themselves or is not wanting to work with a partner and get free bandwidth and discounted Azure and support, I know that there's the Azure optimization tool out there that is very helpful for a lot of companies.
Yeah, and so there's different ways, right? There's migrate, optimize. There's a lot of there's companies out there. Some are agents, some are agentless. Okay, but I think that what the theme or where I'm going with this is the first thing you have to do is understand what you're doing. Okay, and understanding what VMs may be able to come up into the cloud or what not. There's a lot of VMs that may not be ready that you have to remediate. Understanding really the programs, really like what are you really trying to do, and the other thing too is this. It seems like there's no standard railroad track to deploying anything in Azure. It's like having a million trains with a million different railroad sizes, right? Like everyone's different. We all get to the same place. There's always, I think it all consolidates, but it's different, and I think that's why you want to be really careful. And hopefully that you've been understanding today, we've been like really careful with how you're explaining things and how you'd want to do things, right? That's the way to go. One thing we didn't share, okay, that's going to give Katie a smile here, is what a lot of you may not know is actually, and I sent this email out, I think the other day where you saw the registrations, but Ryan Tech is actually the first company to adopt machine learning and AI algorithms in a modern data warehouse for a major automobile manufacturer. Now, this came out in 2017, I think. It was about 2017, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I was at Microsoft, and they came, and I was working with them. I was talking to one of their techs, Dom, and I was like, hey, how are you doing this? Because I had no idea. And they're like, well, we're going to build a modern data warehouse, Sherman. Let me tell you what a data lake is. And I know it now, but he's like, hey, Sherman, let me just tell you, okay, we're going to do this. We got all these IoT sensors. We're taking all that data, right? We're going to bring that data in. We're going to put it into a data lake. So now we understand it. And then he's like, and then we're going to take that data and put it into a data factory, a warehouse and a factory. And we're going to use Jupyter notebooks with machine learning. And we're going to take this and we're going to take that data and we're going to massage it and find this stuff. And then we're going to turn on AI and machine learning, right? To do predictive forecasting and predictive maintenance. And this was the biggest thing. And I don't want to steal thunder here, but I love this story. I think it's so cool. It is. But the big thing was, right, you guys were monitoring like the oil changes. You guys were monitoring how fast it was going, right? Or how slow or how hard it was driven, how many miles. That was like the big game changer because, right? Okay. These major automobile manufacturers, like, when are we supposed to sell this car? Like, what is the optimal time to sell this car based on how maybe beat up it was getting driven, right? Whether it's great or whatever, right? Yeah. And that's what their model did, right? That's kind of what your model did.
Yeah, it also kind of it looked at it from all aspects. All of this data that we were getting from cars, we were also tying it into their sales side, into their accounting side. So we could tell that, Washington is selling, blue cars of this specific make and model like crazy. We could not only tell them when was the optimal time to sell their cars and information about the cars in their lot, where they were, what they were doing, how old they were, when they needed maintenance for it. There's nothing worse than a car salesman going to show a car and having the oil change and the check engine light on as they're trying to tell the person that this car is a good car to buy. So we kind of worked that from all aspects, and were able to completely change what they were able to do for themselves and for their customers.
Beautiful story. I mean, unbelievable. So they're first to market, one partner of the year that year, Microsoft partner of the year for the US. That's something else. With that being said, so this is what I'm going to do here. A couple of things just to wrap this up here. Want to put the last poll here. I want to say thank you everybody for coming.